All right, everybody, here we are with the chapter 10 to 11 first exercise called Halloween. So step one I've already done because I've got my file open. Step two says make sure that the store manager's sheet is active, which I already have done. So I'm looking at that. And now in B2, which is right here, I have to type Freeman, comma, Alice with no space in between. Okay, Freeman, comma, Alice, no space in there. It says press Control Enter, which locks in your typing without moving you off the cell. Okay, so next thing is if we go into our editing group in the Home tab, if we go down to Fill, we can use this thing called Flash Fill, and it uses a little bit of sort of Excel intelligence to fill down stuff in your column based on what it sees. So if I click on that, it has taken everybody else's name and then done last name, comma, first name right after, without this being anything of a formula, which is pretty neat. So that's it for step two. Step three, we're getting into the range, we're looking at the range C2 to 11. We're supposed to select that. Then in the data tab, we're going to be using text to columns. You can see in this column, everything's smashed together with the address and the city and the state and the zip code, and we're attempting to pull it apart. So text to columns is useful for that. So we've got our little wizard here, and we want to use delimited. So there's different options where you're taking text to columns. You could do it fixed width, where it's, a certain portion of the cell goes in one column and then the next portion in another. But we have commas between our data in 3 chunks that we can use as our sort of place marker so Excel knows where to split things. So we're going to use delimited and hit next. And then it asks us, okay, what is in between the different chunks that you want to separate? Well, it's not tabs, but it's commas. And as you click this, it gives you a little preview of what things are going to look like after you're done. So we've got address here, city, and the state and the zip code together. So we can hit next now. And then here's where you can choose the different cell formats and stuff like that, or whether you do not want to import a certain column. But here we're fine with it as it is, so we'll hit finish. And now it's taken street address here, city here, and then the state and zip code there. And the last thing in this step is to change column C to be 25 wide. So right click on the heading and go column width and do 25. And then column D, we're supposed to change that width to 13. So I'll do that there. Okay. So now we're moving on to step 4, and we see that our state and our zip code is still smashed together in one thing. So we're going to use text to columns again. And again, it's delimited because we have something in between the 2 items. So if we hit next, we can choose space. So there's a space in between these 2. It also picks up the space that's in front of the state acronym. So we'll have to deal with that. So we'll hit next. And we don't want this blank column. That's not useful to us. So we're going to click. So once we have it selected and it's shaded black, we can hit do not import. And so now it says skip here. And as you click on each of the other columns, you can see the settings for each one, and general is fine. Okay, so we will hit our finish. And now we've got state here, zip code here. And then the last thing to do is go into the cell F1 and right align the text. Okay, so that way it matches what's underneath, which is kind of a nice practice. Okay, the last thing to do in that step is to save the workbook. All right, I'll do that. All right, step 4 is done. Now we're going to move over to the state manager's sheet, which is the next one over. And we're going to add a background graphic to the worksheet, and we're going to use the Halloween.jpg picture that we downloaded with our files. So what we do is we go to the page layout tab for that, and you'll see a background button here. Click on the background button, and you choose where you want it to come from. Well, we downloaded a file, so we'll choose that. And then we just have to navigate to where we saved our stuff. So I know where I saved mine. Deep in the bowels of my computer. There's Halloween. Hit insert. And now we've got our Halloween picture behind everything. Okay. The next part of this step is we want to hide the grid lines, and you can see all the white grid lines here. So still in page layout, there's a grid lines area, and you can unclick the view button. And that pulls all that away. Okay, so that's it for step 5. Now we have to make our sheet actually look good, because right now it's pretty hard to read all the different stuff. So we're going to apply the accent 1 cell style to the headers. So I'm just going to go from A1 all the way over to K1, Home tab, and Cell Styles, and pick the accent 1 cell style as instructed. So grab that. And then we're supposed to use accent 1 20% for the data. So that's all of this. So cell styles, accent 1 20%. And I'm also going to pick up, oh, I missed area code. I'm actually going to pull in these ones as well. So I'll have to grab, there we go. That's better. So then we want to help our data stand out a little bit. So we are going to change both of our cell styles to use the default fill effect. So we got to go a little deep into settings here. So we're going to highlight our stuff. Actually, I don't even know if you need to do that, but we'll go into cell styles. Accent 1 was our heading. Right click on it and modify. This is not much different than what we did in Word. So we want to change it so it's default fill effects. So we need to go to the Format button, and then the Fill tab at the top of the Format cells, and then even deeper into the Fill Effects area here. So we'll click on that. And now we've got, okay, 2 color, horizontal, whatever. So we're just supposed to use the default. So we'll hit OK, and OK, and OK again. And we can see now we have a gradient in there. So next one, we need to do that for the data portion. Again, modify, format, fill effects, got our defaults, hit OK, OK, and OK. All right, so now we have all of that done. I can flip over the page to step 7. So we've got, it says here, state manager sheet contains a list of 4 state managers. First column contains first name, second is middle initials, and third contains last names. So we're going to use the concat function to combine the names into one column. Okay, so we want to display the manager's full names as in the combined names column, so that's here, as first, middle, last. All right, so let's do that. So I'll use concat, open my parentheses. And first I'll show you what happens if you don't think through what's going on properly first. So I want first name, comma, middle name, comma, last name. And I'll do that. Okay, so if you just use the function as is, it doesn't make spaces between different things for you. So what you can do is you add quotes with a space in it in between each of your inputs. So quotes, space, and remember, use commas in the front and back of each of these as well. So we've got A2, comma, our space, comma, B2, comma, our space, comma, C2. And if I hit enter, that starts to look a lot better. So we're going to then fill that down using our drag, and we can see that that's worked properly where we have spaces in between everybody's first and middle and last name. Okay, so we're good with that. So now we're on to step 8. So it says to improve the readability of the manager's names, you'll use the proper function to convert text to upper and lowercase. And then it goes on to talk about another, so using the left function to extract the area code for the phone number. So that's a separate thing. So first thing is we're going to go into E2 and use the proper function, P-R-O-P-E-R, and open our parentheses and grab our name here next to it. So what that's going to do is it's going to capitalize the first letter of each word. So if I close that up and hit enter, that looks like a lot better formatting, and we can fill that down. All right, much better. So the last part of that is to use the left function to grab the area code. So left, right, middle, these are different text modification functions where you can pull certain characters out of a cell based on where they're situated. So we want to pull the area code of the phone number. So for Jennifer, that's 505. So if I go into area code and I hit equals left, I can select the cell that I want to pull stuff starting from the left, and I have to tell it how many characters do I want to pull from the left. Well, the area code is the first 3. So I just have to type 3 in, close it up, and then fill it down. So I have the area code for each one now in its own cell. Okay. And that's it for step 8. Next one in J2, so that's over here, we are going to use data validation to limit the user to being able to select only one of the managers listed in the worksheet. Okay, so we've looked at this before a little bit. So data, and then the validation button, so the one with the green check on it. And I'm going to choose list because I can grab the list of the manager's names from right here. Okay. So now I have that. That's my list. Everything's good. I'll hit OK. And now I've got a drop down built into that cell. Now it says use a lookup function to automatically insert the manager's phone number from G2 to G5. So G2 to G5 is here. So it also says if no manager's name is selected, display a blank cell using the if error function. Okay, so I'll start with the VLOOKUP and then I'll add the if error after I know that my formula works properly. All right, so equals VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. It's going to look up the manager's name. It's going to find it in this table here because I need to pick up the name and the phone number in the same table for this to work properly. I'm not dragging it anywhere, so I'm not worried about absolute references. Next, I have to pick out which column I want to return. Well, when you find this here, that's column 1. I want to pick up the phone number, which is the third, so I'll type in 3. And then I want an exact match, so I'm going to put in false and hit enter. All right, so it says NA, and that's because nothing's in here right now. So I have to wrap the if error now around it. So I'm going to put my if error on the front, if error. And we're told in the instruction that we want to have a blank cell. So if I want a blank cell, I just put 2 quotes right next to each other with nothing in between and close up my formula. So remember, have a comma after your VLOOKUP before your blank. So hit enter, and now it's blank when there's no manager selected. And then the last thing we want to do here is insert a comment in J2. So that's the one with the drop down that says, try this out. Well, inserting a comment, you can do it in review and new comment, or you can right click on a cell, which is what I usually do, and hit insert comment. Okay, and you want to say, try this out. And when you're done editing, you just click somewhere else and then you can hover over and it shows up. Okay, so that's it for step 9. We can actually just test this. Okay, does our drop down work? Sure. I'll pick Alexis. Did Alexis's phone number show up? Yes, it did. Great news. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we don't want our manager to mess up our workbook. So we're going to do some stuff with protection. So we only want them to be able to change the manager cell here. So we are going to unlock that cell. So if I right click on that cell and I go to, where is it in here? I've got my camera thing in front. Format cells. So right click Format Cells and go to Protection. You can unclick the locked button. So I'll do that. Hit OK. All right, so when we protect this sheet, that cell will be able to be changed. Next thing, we want to protect the sheet with no password. So I'm on the Review tab. I can go Protect Sheet. No password, so just keep all the defaults in there. Hit OK. And now it's protected, so you can't change anything. So if I try and type over this, it gives me an error, which is great. Okay. Next thing, we want to go to Workbook Properties. So that's in our File menu. And our Properties, just like we did in Word, we go to Advanced after clicking on Properties. We want to change the title to be Manager Information. Okay. Hit OK. We're good with that. Get back out of this. And then the last step is to protect the workbook, which is on the Review tab, Protect Workbook, and we're told to leave the password blank. So I'll hit OK, and now it's all locked up, which is perfect. And that is our last step aside from saving and closing the file. So there we go.